Long runs are very confusing when you first start running. There are many different variations you can do, and the distance varies massively depending on what you're training for. And if you don't get them right, they can be more of a burden than a benefit. However, I'm going in depth on long runs in this video, from how long they should be, the different types of long runs you can do, how to fuel and hydrate properly, and also a few recovery tips so you can properly build the long runs into your training plan and reap the full benefits. So let's get into it. So we're going to start off by talking about how long should your long runs be. And this varies massively depending on a few factors. And these are what level of runner you are, if you're a beginner, intermediate or advanced, what you're training for, what race distance, it could be a 5K, 10K, half marathon or marathon, and what week of your training plan you're at. For this video, I'm going to focus only really on relating this to half marathon and marathon, as they're the most important weekly run for these distances. Whereas a 5K or 10K, the priority for your weekly training schedule would be your speed work session. With 5K and 10K, weekly mileage isn't really as much of a priority as it is with half marathon and marathon. So for half marathon, for beginners, their peak run, this is the longest run in their whole training plan, should be somewhere between 14 to 16 kilometers and no further. This is because they haven't got the experience in conditioning, unlike intermediate and advanced runners, whose peak run would probably be around 19 kilometers to even a full half marathon. And your peak long run should have large blocks of your goal race pace, mixed with easier aerobic zones to really prepare you for your upcoming race. For a marathon, a peak long run will be somewhere between 30 to 32 kilometers, or for more experienced and advanced runners, it could be anywhere from 36 to 38 kilometers. Your peak long run should also be usually 3 to 4 weeks before your race. So when you first start your training plan, you should build up to this peak long run. And then once you're past it, you'll start to taper down so you can allow your body to absorb all the training that you've been doing. So here's an example of all the long runs I've done in my last training plan for my marathon in Mallorca. So as you can see, we started off with just a 20-kilometer long run, and then I gradually built it up through the weeks. It went up to 23, 26, I had a deload after 26 down to 15, and then we go back up again, 29, 32, and then I hit 36 kilometers, which was my peak long run. After that, I had a deload down to 19 kilometers again, and then I started to taper off from 32 to 22, and then my last one after that was a 14 kilometer. So this should give you an idea of how to structure the distances of your long runs into your training plan. Remember, for a half marathon and marathon, the peak run is your most important. This is the run that builds that belief that you can really go out and achieve the time that you want on your race. So you know about the distances. Now we're going to talk about the different types of long run you can do to really make things even more confusing. So the first type of long run I'm going to talk about is probably the most popular, and this is called a progressive long run. So for this run, it starts off at an aerobic pace and then progressively gets faster as the run goes on, usually finishing at or around your goal race pace. So here's an example of a progressive long run from my training plan. So it starts off at 6 kilometer conversational, goes up to 5 kilometer 505, 6 kilometer 455, and then 6 kilometer 440, which was what the app said was my goal race pace. But for me personally, that was a bit too ambitious. So the purpose of this run is to learn to build up to those faster distances as your runs go on. So you want your body to be able to adapt, be able to hit those faster paces once you go past, say, the 30-kilometer mark on a marathon. The next one I'm going to talk about is called a block or threshold long run. And this long run is usually done with a large block at your goal race pace, usually either side of some easier aerobic zones. So here is a 32-kilometer block long run that I've done. As you can see, in the middle, I've got that 9 kilometer at 450, which is pretty close to my apparent goal race pace. And then either side of that, I've got 2 conversational or aerobic paces. And this helps your body to adapt to that speed that you want for a lot longer. There are also hilly long runs, which are done over various pace zones, but over hilly routes. Hilly long runs usually vary with the pace zones. The priority here is that they're done over hilly routes to help the body adapt to elevation for longer periods. And then there's the hotspot long run. This is essentially the same as an easy long run, just with 1 or 2 kilometers randomly in there at your 5 or 10K pace. And these are great for helping your body learn to run a lot faster when it's already fatigued. And they also make easy runs and aerobic long runs a lot less boring. And then finally, there's the actual zone 2 long run or the easy long run. And these are done at conversational pace and just help you build that aerobic base and include more mileage onto your legs. Now I know this can be a lot to take in, so to keep things simple, I'm just going to say that the sole purpose of all these runs is to help your body adapt to that goal race pace for your half marathon or marathon. So you can incorporate these into your routine and mix different variants of long run with different distances to really help build a solid long run routine and go and smash your half marathon or marathon time. The next thing I'm going to talk about is your fueling and hydration, because getting this right will make or break your ability to perform. So make sure you're eating plenty of healthy carbohydrates to keep muscle glycogen topped up. In the morning or pre-run, you want fast digesting. So things like oats, bananas, sourdough bread, and honey, these are my go-to. So when you're out on your long run, make sure you have running gels with you so that you can avoid depletion or hitting the wall. The longer the run is, the more gels you'll need. A good rule of thumb is you want 40 to 50 grams of carbs every half hour of running. Make sure you're using the same running gels during your training that you plan to use on your race day. Trust me, you don't want anything to go wrong on the day itself. So speed also makes a massive difference to the amount of gels that you might need during your long runs. If I've got a 32 kilometer progressive hilly long run, then I'll probably need 4 or 5 running gels. Whereas it's a 32 kilometer easy, then I might just need 1 or 2. So with your hydration, you want to be doing it with electrolytes. If you just have plain water, it can deplete your body even further. A little homemade electrolyte drink I sometimes like to make is just to mix a bit of salt, lemon with some coconut water. And this will give you all the electrolytes you need. However, if I was training for a half marathon or marathon, I'd recommend getting some sachets as they have a good electrolyte balance. And then when you're out on your long run, you also want to bring fluids with some electrolytes in with you as well, especially if it's hot. When I ran the Madrid marathon earlier in the year, around 29k in, I had complete dehydration and depletion of all electrolytes in my body, which made it a very rough experience. Now, any run that I do that's over 30 kilometers, I'll always bring some kind of fluid with me, no matter the conditions. And then the last thing I want to talk about is recovery. Your recovery needs to be on point. The better you sleep, the better you are when your next run comes around. And then you really want to optimize good sleeping habits. So 7 to 9 hours every night. Everyone knows this. But then you also want to make sure you're going to bed and waking up at the same time every single day, if it's possible for you. They actually say now that the timing of your sleep is more important than how much sleep you're actually getting. And then you also want to reduce all light in your house at night time and no blue light 1 hour before bed. Just doing these few things can make a massive difference to not just your running, but also your overall health and well-being. Also, stretching after your long runs is vital. This is when your legs are the most stiff and seized up. So try to get into good stretching habits, doing all the muscle groups 2 to 3 times a week if possible. We want to make sure we're getting plenty of protein from animal sources so muscles can recover. Aim for around 0.6 to 0.8 grams per pound of body weight daily. Remember, animal protein is absorbed and utilized a lot better by the body than plant protein. So make sure 70% of your protein comes from animal sources. And then finally, if your legs are still really quite sore after your long runs and need a little bit more TLC, then try massage therapy. You can do this by hand, or you can just invest and get yourself a massage gun to help get your legs ready to go for your next run. And then you also want to be making this a daily habit to get the best results possible. But yeah, that's everything for this video on long runs. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any ideas about what you want to see next, then drop a comment below. And if you found this helpful, please like and subscribe. Thank you.